celebrating 20 years of possibility. Pilot Flying J and Halloran Hilton Hill present Anything is Possible.
This is Anything is Possible. I'm Halloran Hilton Hill. Thanks for joining us. Part 2 of my interview with Stan Johnson. Here's the story arc. A swamp thing becomes a superhero. Stan, what a story. Born in Jamaica, humble beginnings. You're picking fruit, make it to America, get a college education, go in the auto business. You're on an upward trajectory. In the middle of all of that, there's a shift. When we talked last time, you were talking about a vision that you had. Entrepreneur Magazine is interviewing you. You're about to buy a major dealership. You're negotiating. Cameras are flashing. You're posing. And you said a flash of light hit you, and it was God. It was almost like Saul on Damascus Road has a flash of light. He's blinded by the light, and there is a transformation that happens. And it's almost like, here's what I'm taking from what you said. He's saving you from yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm headed to destruction. I know I am.
Why?
Well, you got to remember, this is 2006, right? If I buy this multi-million-dollar car lot, 2 more years, the whole market crashes. You talking about going from up here to down there real fast. It was easier for him to take me where he wanted me to go, because it just made sense, right? Because he's been basically using all the tools and skills that he's given me. Now he wants me to use it for himself. And it makes plenty of sense, but I don't know that at that point. I just realized that I'm trying to be the man, right? Like you would say, Stan.
The man.
The man. So, this is like the second time I physically experienced God at that time. The first time my wife was sick with blood cancer, and they told me that she was gonna die. And I was in the corner of the CCU unit, crying my eyes out, trying to figure out why her God instead of me. And God showed up in that little corner, picked me up, stood me on my feet, and said, well, number one, you couldn't handle what she's going through, and she can't handle what you're going through. Now go out there and tell your family that she's gonna be fine. And I looked around, there was nobody there. But I felt that embrace, right?
Physically.
This is not a thought. This is a physical thing that happened to me, right? So this is gonna be the second time in that flash vision that I just mentioned to you about. What was interesting about the first time, I went and told my family that she was gonna be fine. I did not believe all that really happened. It was kind of just a maybe it happened type deal. But she had to have this thing called plasmapheresis. She had some kind of blood cancer. Doctor said we were gonna do 10 days. We ended up doing like 366 days of it. You know, she was a beast. She rode through all that thing, man. Every single day she had to go get like a kidney dialysis for her plasma. And she's amazing to me anyway, you know. I'll tell you about her in the other part, but she's been my rock in this process. So the second time when it happens to me, now I understand it better, right? And when God tells me that I'm the one that's acting a certain way, and he says he's kicked the guy out of heaven for that before, I said, well, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to ever be compared in that aspect. I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, you're robbing me of my glory. You're telling everybody around you that you're the one doing it. You're not talking to them about what me and you talk about. You're not talking to them about how we walked together. You're not talking to them about how I saved your life and your marriage and your children. You're not telling them none of that. You're just telling them that Stan, the man. So I said, well, what do you want me to do, God? He said, go help some people. So that's where that process came in. Because at that moment, I really didn't even believe in helping people. I just thought people wanted co-signers. They didn't really want to be helped. You know,
right. You're looking at lazy Americans that don't want to get off their butt. You think you got it bad. You hadn't had to chop sugar cane or pick fruit. Miss me with all the whining and crying. You have nothing but opportunity, and you want to sit over there. Tell you what we're gonna do. I know what to do. We're gonna cash it in. Right?
Yes, sir.
And he had to strip you of that.
Oh, he had to, because I thought it was me. And I wasn't even doing it. Again, I wasn't doing it for any other purpose but that same thing. I'll show you how to get it. I can show you better than I can tell you.
Right.
You know, because if I'm sitting there talking to you and you don't want to listen to what I'm saying, I'll just go ahead and do it. Because I know I can get it done because ain't nobody else doing it, right?
Right.
So that's how it rolled out.
Well, you got a successful business, you're making plenty of money, and it's market crash, recession, the Great Recession. That's hard to wind down. and that laugh that you have right there, ladies and gentlemen watching, that is not laughter. Those are tears masquerading as laughter. Yeah. We will hear the rest of that story in just a moment. This is Stan Johnson.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel. Coming up.
She said, Alex, we love you. We're proud of you. We want you to know that God love you. You can do anything where you want. Anything in this country is possible. You can do it.
When we left, you were laughing, but you took off your glasses because, well, we learned how to do it. Yeah. We learned how to laugh when everybody's looking, but you were laughing and crying at the same time just then.
Yeah, man. So you built this image of who you thought you were supposed to be. And you realize that is, it's not so. So you're trying to figure out how do you get out of this and like save your name without looking like you gave up or looking like you didn't know what you was doing and all that kind of stuff. So God just says, sell everything. You don't need none of this stuff. You need me. I was like, damn. I don't know about that, God. I want to keep all of the stuff, but I want to serve you. He said, "What? You serve the stuff. Can't really serve me and serve the stuff. Man can't have two masters. You know, you're gonna love one and you're gonna hate the other one." So went home and started talking to that lovely wife of mine and saying, "Baby, God told me to do X." And she was like, "What? What do you mean? Told you to do what? Sell everything?" "No, honey, you might want to pray about that some more." So yeah, baby, we'll be fine. You know, but it was a lot. It was a lot. Just from the building to taking the name down to understanding that you're not going to make as much money anymore to figuring out what to do next and basically retirement. You know, is what it was coming down to at 32, 33, 34 years old.
You remember taking your name down?
Yeah.
Seeing it come down?
Yeah.
That's symbolic, isn't it?
Yeah, because you remember how proud you are lifting it, right? And you remember coming from all them little spots where you was talking about how consistent you had to be to do X, and to realize that, you know, you're giving up per se, or you're not, you know, you weren't as successful as you thought you were gonna be, and all this kind of stuff. But it has nothing to do with that. It has all about obedience, you know. And when you start thinking about being obedient to the great one, you know, it's just different.
You know, I say that in every pivot, there's pain, but there's possibility.
Oh my goodness!
Like it opens up whole new possibilities.
Yeah.
So you decide to give your life to serving poor people. What is seed, And you do realize you got 3 E's in there, right?
Yeah, a little fifth grader told me that one time. Seed, yeah.
What does it stand for?
It stands for socially equal, energy efficient development. When I was going through that process and God told me to sell everything and go help some people, remember how I was thinking about helping people, right? People are lazy. People can be not motivated. People can be, it's been hard in this country, right, for poor people. Everybody takes advantage of them. Like, this is what capitalism is. Take advantage of the people that don't know no better than the people that got to have stuff. So usually poor folks want to look like they're not poor, which is, for all intents and purposes, I guess that's fine. But you can get it, is my point. You don't have to be that way. You could go get it. So how do you do that? So you want to make sure that in a socially equal way that people can actually have a conversation, right? Where it doesn't matter what your job is or how much money you're making or who you are, you still are a human, right? So at some level you have some kind of equality. And that's where social comes in. So if we are a society and have social norms and we start actually talking to each other about those things, we'll see we got a lot of stuff in common more than we do apart. But we don't have to always throw in the hierarchical portion of it in there, right? So here I am, I'm coming from a middle class income type place to where now I'm not making any money, really. I'm just trying to share the knowledge and share the information. But what I'm really sharing now is God. I wasn't giving God any credit. Now I'm giving God all the credit. So that's really where the swing comes in. But I had to have something practical to do it with. So I thought energy efficiency would be the best way. It's the way of the future, right? We have to start thinking about our energy, and not just the energy that we use with the lights, but our own personal energy. Like, what are you doing at 6 o'clock in the morning to not be ready for your day? What did you do last night that's gonna hold you up from getting the stuff done today? Like, I have to always be thinking in the future of what I'm doing today, is it gonna affect me tomorrow? And in some cases, we don't even think about 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now or a month from now. Well, before we know it, this thing, like my mom says, a flesh suit, it's gonna fail. It's a matter of time. So are we practicing and getting ready for those moments when it comes, or are we just gonna let it happen to us? And that's what really worries me. So that other part comes in the development piece. How do you develop yourself on a daily basis? How do you figure out ways to actually become socially equal, energy efficient, and developing yourself? Like, personal development is a big deal.
What's your mom think about all of this?
Oh, she's super proud. She had 2 goals, right? One, raise all of her kids so they could take care of themselves. So one day they might have to take care of her. And to build her home in Jamaica so she could go home and actually be taken care of, right? And nobody could kick her out of her house. So when I graduated from college, she was able to do that.
When she talks to you and I can just hear the lovely patois in her voice. What does she say to you?
She said, Alex, I love you. I'm proud of you. I want you to know that God love you. You can do anything what you want. Anything in this country is possible.
Wow.
You can do it.
Wow, man. And that sustains you, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I listen. I keep messages from her just so I can listen to them. Just in case I can't get to her. Just something. If her phone's out or something, I just want to hear her voice once in a while, because she's an optimist, man. Really, when you start thinking about this too shall fail, like, we're gonna die. So what's gonna keep you optimist? Well, it's got to be God.
Yeah.
Got to be because now I get to live on, right? So I don't have to worry about this world per se. But if we teach people about all this money and this is how you get rich and da-da-da, well, you could gain all of that. But God told you, if you could do all that, but you'll lose your soul. What good is it, right? So now, really, Hal, the big thing now is teaching, right? How do you build a pathway out of poverty, right? And who are you gonna do it for? Like, these young adults, we don't understand that these are our future. This is what's gonna sustain us. And if we don't really start pushing to help these young people, and I'm not talking about the very young ones, I'm talking about the ones that didn't make it through high school or didn't make it through college, 18 to 24-year-olds, right? That used to be the block that started the civil rights movement, right? That created all the generational wealth that we know about. Those same group of people are the ones that carry America. I mean, just think about the armed services. Most of those guys are 18 to 20 years old. Like, we need to make sure that we're pouring all we can into these young people.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
What brings you joy? Where do you find your greatest joy?
Oh, I have these things called grandchildren now.
How many?
4, 2 girls, 2 boys.
What do they call you?
Him. They love their grandmother. I'm a little bit too strict on them. It's funny.
I want Bernie Mac said, him downstairs. Yeah.
So it's stuck.
That brings you joy. What's your purpose?
Man, really just to light, you know. If we don't bring light into this world, it's all gloom and doom. I mean, just think about our politics, right? Opposite. They're mad at each other about whatever. Now, I tell people about poverty, right? So for the last, 25 years, poverty in America has pretty much stayed the same. That's either party. Tennessee has one of the best economic systems in the country. You know, we always balance our budget, had the last 2 or 3 governors do some great work. They're bringing people in, they're doing all kind of stuff. Poverty stayed pretty much the same. Well, come to find out, Knoxville has one of the highest poverty rates in the Southeast, right? With cities above 100,000 people. We're tied for 4th with Memphis, to be real with you, right? In that poverty, but nobody ever talks about it, never focuses on it. Well, there's nobody bringing light to it. Nobody's talking about it. I'm not talking about it in a bad sense. I'm just talking about it like, are we gonna stay here, right? And I do a little bit more digging, and I found out that African Americans in Knoxville are the poorest. You hear me? The poorest
of the poor
in those regions, right? Of cities in the Southeast that have over 100,000 people. So nobody's gonna say nothing about it? Nobody's gonna do anything about it? And everybody's running around in Knoxville like, oh man, unemployment is at the lowest. We hadn't had a tax rate hike in 12, 15 years. Everything's wonderful, yay. Well, not for everybody, right? So if we don't bring light to these situations, and people bring light to dogs, people bring light to the war in Ukraine, it's all kind of stuff. My job and my purpose is to bring light to poverty.
Yeah, and I think when you shed light on something, right, you illuminate it, people can see that it's there. But then also, everything on earth is powered by the sun at some level, right? Light causes things to grow as well. And so I see you trying to inject light into the hearts and minds of people so that kernel of faith is activated. Yes. Right? If you have faith the size of a grain of mustard seed, you can move mountains.
Yes, sir.
And you guys are seeing that happen.
Almost definitely. Yeah. So as you was talking about, seed started, 13 years ago, and it's about possibility, right? A seed gets planted. You cannot see that seed no more. It's gone as soon as you plant it, never to be seen again in life. And you don't never know what happens to it, right? But it turns into this thing called a plant. Plant turns into a tree, so forth, so on, turns into, so you can see how many seeds are in like a apple.
Right.
Right? But you can't see how many apples are in that one seed. So the point is, if we could plant stuff, especially in fertile ground, it'll grow, right? So when we start thinking about what we do at Seed, we start talking about like life skills, job skills, and placement skills. These are processes that you need to actually make. Like one of the things we talk about is culture. Like in the hood, we have a whole bunch of handshakes, right? In corporate America, we only have one. Well, who's going to teach that skill? Right? In the hood, you just can't be looking people dead in the eye. right? In the corporate America, if you don't look somebody dead in the eye, they think you're disrespectful. You're not paying them any attention. Who's going to talk about these things, right?
Right.
We used to have these things called parents, right? So we're lucky today to have a parent inside the household, right? Don't forget about Big Mama them, right? Grandmama them, auntie them that's raising these kids that somebody else was supposed to. No daddies, right? And again, poverty breeds. Think about when you can have the most problems in your life, when you're poor and you're young and you have no opportunity to do stuff. Well, said something happens in your mind, it's where the devil plays, right? Well, why do you think we've had the worst violence in Knoxville history last year, right? Most gun violence that we've ever had, most suicides that we've ever had, most drug overdose that we ever had. We're not talking about poverty. This is where that stuff breeds from. It's where it's a multiplier, right? And if we don't understand that we can get out of this poverty situation, that's what leaves us in these areas, right? Again, we've left this alone for the last 20-something years, and we've gotten nothing but more poverty in this country.
Those seeds are bearing fruit.
Yes.
You're saying we need to plant new seeds to bear different fruit.
Yes.
Stan Johnson, thanks for being on Anything Is Possible.
Thanks for having me.